Anyone who has seen a Sow drive knows that a Sow's driving skills are the best among all animals. Yet, in my previous life, as a turtle, I was run over and killed by a Sow driving. Because of the global mutation, everyone will transform into the last animal they ate. Eat an egg and you'll turn into a chicken. Eat a duck neck and you'll turn into a big rat. Reborn into this life, the first thing I did was to eat a T-Rex fossil, because people who turn into weak animals find it hard to survive. Only ancient animals that are already extinct on Earth are strong enough. Among these, the T-Rex is undoubtedly the best choice. Therefore, I set my sights on the museum where I work. Water bears possess the strongest survival ability on Earth. Even if their heads are cut off, they can grow back. However, to become a water bear and T-Rex hybrid, the probability is not high. Next, I took out a small amount of fossils from over 10 species, such as water bears, alligator-snapping turtles, and pterosaurs. Finally, to help me swallow them better, I also mixed in a large amount of water, stirred it into a paste, then lit a fire and began to boil it. When there were 10 minutes left until the mutation, I unhesitatingly picked up this batch of paste, just as I was about to devour it. The exhibition hall's main door was violently flung open. Liu Xianxia's face appeared at the doorway, furiously roaring, "Chen, Mo, you bastard! What good deed have you done?" As he roared, he frantically pulled out his phone. About to call the police, my eyes turned cold. I casually grabbed a T-Rex fossil nearby and violently hurled it at him. The rock accurately hit his wrist. His phone clattered to the ground. Its screen shattered to pieces. Liu Xianxia clutched his bleeding wrist, glaring at me with a fierce yet restrained look. "You think by knocking out your colleagues, no one will know? You just wait to go to jail." I put down the pot in my hand and walked towards him step by step. The chainsaw in my hand hummed again. "You think I'm doing all this for that measly salary?" Liu Xianxia, frightened by the killing intent in my eyes, repeatedly backed away, still spouting threats. "What do you want to do? Murder is punishable by death." I glanced at my watch. 3 minutes left on the countdown. Now was not the time to kill him. The mutation was about to begin. I had to drink the last mouthful of special paste to ensure I could perfectly fuse all prehistoric genes. I swung the chainsaw backhanded, fiercely brandishing it in Liu Xianxia's direction. Liu Xianxia screamed like a pig being slaughtered, and, terrified, turned and ran out the door. I didn't pursue him. I turned and picked up the last mouthful from the pot. I drank the special paste in one gulp. The scorching paste flowed into my stomach. Instantly, an indescribable burning sensation spread from my internal organs to my entire body, every single cell. I could clearly feel the genes of prehistoric overlords from tens of millions of years ago stirring within my body. Waking up, the hustle and bustle of the city instantly came to a halt. Everyone froze in place, thinking they were experiencing hallucinations, until the sky was suddenly dyed a starry crimson. Blood-red countdown numbers floated in every corner of the city. Meanwhile, Liu Xianxia, who was driving for his life, was staring blankly at the steering wheel, still muttering curses and threatening to call the police to arrest me. He suddenly discovered with horror that the hand holding the steering wheel was rapidly growing black-brown fur, transforming into a plump, bony pig's trot. In his fright, he slammed the steering wheel, and the truck instantly lost control, like a wild horse unbridled, crashing straight into the entrance of an internet cafe by the road. At this very moment, mutations were occurring simultaneously all over the world. On the bustling streets, a white-collar worker who had just finished an egg pancake screamed as she transformed into a flapping chicken. Girl watching a drama while gnawing on a duck neck shrank into a dusty big rat. A wealthy man eating braised beef noodles turned into a wild, frantic cow. The roars of animals instantly swept through the entire city. Meanwhile, in the museum's laboratory, my mutation also reached its peak. My entire body's skin instantly turned red and hot. My bones made cracking and popping sounds. My body was wildly growing and stretching. My clothes were instantly torn apart. A thick, hard layer of terrifyingly patterned scales grew on my skin surface. My mouth protruded forward, and 2 rows of razor-sharp teeth grew inside. My limbs became thick and powerful. My fingertips extended, retractable claws like a saber-toothed tiger, capable of easily tearing through steel. A pair of folded wings, like those of a Quetzalcoatlus, grew on my back. When retracted, they clung tightly. When extended, they could block out the sun. Every cell in my body was imprinted with the water bear's regeneration code. Even fatal injuries could be instantly repaired. In just 10 seconds, a colossal creature, 12 meters long, 6 meters tall, and weighing 8 tons, appeared in the museum. I succeeded. I not only perfectly transformed into a T-Rex, but also successfully fused with the genes of over 10 ancient top predators, becoming a unique prehistoric hybrid in history. I looked down at my thick, powerful hind limbs, at my gleaming sharp claws, felt the terrifying biting force in my mouth, strong enough to crush steel, and felt the explosive power hidden in the wings on my back. I couldn't help but let out a roar to the sky. This roar pierced through the museum's walls and echoed throughout the entire street. District, host, Chen Mo. Species, T-Rex perfect hybrid. Juvenile stage. Purification value, 0/1000. So that's how it is. In my previous life, I became a ghost, but was always a weakling because I never killed any living creatures and never gained any purification value. But in this life, I not only stand at the top of the food chain, but also possess the possibility of infinite purification. Just then, a series of grunting roars came from the doorway. Liu Xianxia had arrived. He had completed his mutation, transforming into a 3-meter-long, 1,000-jin wild boar. It was precisely because, when he was escaping, he panicked and, in his haste, bit into a wild boar specimen in the museum, which is how he ended up like this. At this moment, he was staring intently at me, letting out an angry roar. Chen Mo, you touched my T-Rex fossil. So it was for this. You ruined my path to survival. I'm going to kill you, as he roared. He lowered his head and charged at me with his sharp tusks. His hooves kicked up gravel like flying swords. I looked at him with disdain and cold killing intent in my eyes. In my previous life, it was this beast that tore my sister apart. In this life, he actually dared to deliver himself to my door. Liu Xianxia, I opened my mouth, and a deep human voice came from the T-Rex's throat. The entire exhibition hall buzzed. In your previous life, when you tore my sister apart, did you ever think you'd have this day? Liu Xianxia froze, clearly not understanding what I was saying. But in his eyes, the ferocity intensified. He accelerated again, charging towards me. I stood my ground, not moving an inch. Just as his tusks were about to touch my scales, I fiercely raised my thick foreleg and slapped him on the head. With a crunch, Liu Xianxia's skull was directly crushed by my single slap. His massive body instantly collapsed to the ground, twitched twice, and then completely lost all signs of life. I lowered my head and bit into his body. The immense, biting force instantly crushed his bones. In a few bites, I swallowed the wild boar whole. System notification. Successfully killed elite mutant. Gained purification value, 50 points. Current purification value, 50/1000. A warm current instantly surged through my entire body. I could clearly feel my body growing stronger. By a fraction, after dealing with Liu Xianxia, I didn't hesitate for a moment. I turned and fiercely swept my tail across the entire fossil exhibition area. All the ancient creature fossils, under my terrifying power, were all reduced to dust. I only left behind the dire wolf and water bear fossils I had prepared for my sister. I had to destroy these things to reduce the possibility of top predators appearing in the future and lower competitive pressure. In my previous life, too many people, after mutating, tried every means to find ancient fossils and became terrifying predators, causing countless massacres. After all this was done, I leaped up. My 12-meter-long body directly smashed through the museum's tempered glass and jumped out. The moment I landed, the museum behind me collapsed with a crash. Because of my earlier impact, the entire building's load-bearing structure was completely destroyed. Coupled with a short circuit, a raging fire instantly ignited, burning all the sins and secrets to ashes. But before I could even take a second step, blinding police lights made it hard for me to open my eyes. A full 20 police cars surrounded the museum completely. Hundreds of police officers, holding guns, had their dark muzzles all aimed at me. Behind them, there were also over 10 riot-armored vehicles, their cannons gleaming. I recognized the leading police captain at a glance. Lai Hu. In my previous life, it was this guy who led a team of police and blew off my hind leg with a rocket launcher, causing me to miss the best opportunity to save my sister. His eyes, as he looked at me, were full of greed and madness. Raising his gun, he roared, "Brothers, the voice in our heads just now was real. This dinosaur and that dead pig are both transformed humans. Kill this dinosaur, eat its flesh, and we can also become T-Rexes. Otherwise, later we'll just become chickens, ducks, and fish to be slaughtered." His words instantly ignited the greed of all the police officers. Everyone's eyes turned red. They all pulled their gun bolts, and bullets rained down on me. A crisp ding-dong sound kept ringing out. Bullets hit my terrifying scales. Like a tickle, I looked at this group, whose minds were clouded by greed. with coldness in my eyes. In my previous life, everyone thought that by eating mutated animals' flesh, they could gain the other's abilities. But it wasn't until the very end that everyone discovered that eating animals transformed from humans wouldn't bring any changes at all. It would only make themselves crazier, ultimately losing their humanity completely, becoming beasts that only knew how to kill. I advise you not to waste your efforts. I opened my mouth again. My deep voice made everyone stop shooting, staring at me with shocked expressions. Animals transformed from humans will not gain any mutated abilities. If you stop now, I can spare your lives. But if you still pursue me... Not only did this not make them retreat, but it made Lihu even more insane. He can talk. He really is human. Brothers, attack. Kill him and we'll become superior. As he roared, he hoisted a rocket launcher onto his shoulder, aimed it at me, and unhesitatingly pulled the trigger. The rocket, trailing a fiery exhaust, whistled towards me. My eyes turned cold. I slightly shifted my body. The rocket almost grazed my scales as it flew past, exploding on the wall behind me, creating a huge crater. Taking advantage of their reloading interval, I fiercely charged out. My 12-meter-long body erupted with terrifying speed. Instantly, rushing into the crowd, my thick tail swept out fiercely, and instantly 5 or 6 police officers were swept off their feet, spitting blood and dying on the spot. The remaining people, seeing this scene, were scared out of their wits. Their guns almost dropped from their hands. They finally realized that this prehistoric beast before them was not something their small handguns could deal with. Lihu watched me walk towards him step by step. His legs turned to jelly, and he turned to run. How could I give him that chance? I leaped up fiercely. My 6-stunned body instantly landed in front of him. The ground cracked under my feet. He screamed in fright, turning to run in the opposite direction. But I pressed down on his body with one claw. My sharp claw, with a slight exertion of force, pierced through his chest. System notification. Successfully killed ordinary mutant. Gained purification value. 1 point. Current purification value. 51/1000. After dealing with Lihu, I looked up and coldly swept my gaze over the remaining police officers. Everyone was so terrified, their bodies went limp. With a clatter, all their guns fell to the ground. They all slumped to the ground, not daring to move. I didn't want to kill indiscriminately anymore. My only goal was to go home and find my sister, Chen Nuo. Before the mutation, I had repeatedly warned her that she absolutely must not eat any meat today. She could only eat the vegetables and canned food I had prepared for her in advance. I also locked her inside the house. No matter what sounds you hear, don't come out. Wait for me to come back for you in my previous life. Because Liu Xianxia fired me, I was penniless and couldn't provide my sister with enough supplies. That's why she got so hungry she ate that sausage and turned into a rabbit to be slaughtered. In this life, I had prepared for her in advance, a basement full of supplies, enough for her to last until I returned. I had to rush back as quickly as possible. Every second I was late meant one more second of danger for my sister. I shook the blood from my claws and turned, sprinting rapidly towards home. My running speed reached an astonishing 60 kilometers per hour, faster than an ordinary car. The mutated animals frantically fleeing on the streets. Seeing me charge, all scattered in terror, not even daring to block my path. Along the way, I saw too many human tragedies. Women who had turned into rabbits were chased and torn apart by men who had turned into wild dogs. Drivers who had turned into cows were surrounded and dismembered by a group of people who had turned into hunting dogs. I didn't stop. It wasn't that I was cold-blooded, but I clearly knew that I hadn't even protected my own sister yet. I had no ability to care for others. I could only first ensure Nuo's safety. A several-ton truck was directly sent flying by a sweep of my tail. It spun several times in the air and crashed heavily to the ground, completely totaled. The so in the cab was flung out, crashing heavily onto the ground in front of me. She looked up and saw me, this colossal creature. Not only did she show no fear, but she roared like a shrew. "You damn lizard! You ruined my good thing. I think you're tired of living," as she roared. She opened her mouth, revealing a mouthful of tusks, and bit towards my leg. I looked at her, my eyes full of killing intent. In my previous life, it was this beast that ended my pathetic life. In this life, I encountered her here again. In your previous life, when you ran me over, did you ever think you'd have this day? I raised my claw and stepped on her. 1,000 Jin So had no chance to struggle under my foot. She was instantly crushed into meat. Paste. System notification. Successfully killed ordinary mutant. Gained purification value. 1 point. Current purification value. 52/1000. The few elementary school students who had been rescued, terrified, huddled together, trembling as they watched me. I lowered my head and told them in as gentle a voice as possible. Quickly find a safe place to hide. Lock the doors and windows, and don't come out after saying that. I turned and continued to sprint towards home. While sprinting, I didn't forget to hunt down those evil mutated animals. Whenever I saw mad dogs, hunting dogs, or wild wolves attacking humans, I dealt with them all. Firstly, to accumulate evolution value. Secondly, also to prevent more people from suffering the same tragic fate as my sister in the previous life. In just 1 hour, my evolution value rose to 104/1000. But just then, a strong smell of blood drifted into my nostrils with the wind. My steps abruptly halted. This bloody smell was mixed with a familiar bear-like scent. In my previous life, it was a mutated brown bear. That rushed into my sister's shelter, bit off her leg, and I desperately fought it off. They were all his former colleagues. Scattered around him was a pile of gnawed-clean bones. Clearly, this guy, in the few hours after his mutation, had already killed countless humans and mutated animals. He saw me standing at the entrance. Not only did he show no fear, but he licked the blood from his mouth and let out a disdainful roar. Oh, food delivered itself to my doorstep. A mere broken lizard dares to trespass on my territory. I looked at him, the killing intent in my eyes, almost overflowing. It was this face, this voice, that I couldn't forget even in death in my previous life. You're just a brown bear. Where do you get the nerve to challenge? Prehistoric overlord, I said coldly. The brown bear immediately burst into laughter, clapping its 2 bare paws against its chest. A mere juvenile T-Rex dares to show off in front of me. Today, I'll let you witness the terrifying power of an adult, I instantly realized. No wonder it was so fearless. No wonder the smell of blood on it was so strong. The bloodstains and corpses all over the supermarket indicated that it had already eaten hundreds of mutated animals. At this moment, it had already broken through to the adult stage. My current evolution value was only 104/1000, still in the juvenile stage. Just as I was momentarily stunned, the brown bear moved. Its massive body erupted with a speed completely disproportionate to its size, instantly charging in front of me. Its giant, bare paw, whistling through the air, slammed fiercely towards my head. The force of this blow was enough to smash a small car. I didn't dodge, but instead took the blow head-on. With a dull thud, my massive body involuntarily recoiled 2 steps. The ground under my feet was imprinted with 2 deep footprints. The brown bear, seeing this, laughed even more wildly. See, your juvenile strength isn't even enough to get stuck in my teeth. Today, I'll eat this dinosaur of yours and see if I can evolve again. He roared again and charged at me. His massive bare paw concealed sharp claws. Clearly, the previous attack was just a test. This time, he was serious. But what he didn't know was that I had just taken his blow head-on, because I just wanted to test how strong an adult-stage creature really was. He also didn't know that what I had fused with was never just a simple T-Rex gene. Blood streamed down. Yet, his confidence greatly increased. He roared, "Is that all you've got? You juvenile dinosaur. I'm going to eat you for sure." He lunged at me again, attempting to pin me down with his weight. But just as he was getting carried away, my gaping, bloody mouth was already biting towards his neck. The brown bear quickly ducked down, although he avoided my fatal bite. He, like almost all people, underestimated the power of the T-Rex's forelegs. In my previous life, everyone thought the T-Rex's forelegs were short and weak. But only I, who had studied T-Rexes my entire life as a fossil restorer, knew that although the T-Rex's forelegs were short, their explosive power was immense. I delivered a fierce dragon punch to his lower jaw. My sharp saber-toothed tiger claws instantly pierced his lower jaw, brutally embedding themselves into his head. The brown bear let out a blood-curdling scream, writhing on the ground in pain, blood constantly gushing from its mouth. An adult stage is merely the adult stage of an ordinary species. That's all. I walked towards him step by step, my cold voice like it came from hell. Today, I'll let you witness the absolute difference between species. The brown bear finally showed fear in its eyes as it looked at me. It turned and tried to run into the supermarket, tempting to use the shelves to block my path. But, without his courage, where could he run? The moment he turned around, my claw, with a swoosh, pierced into his back. fiercely, ripping open his flesh. Immediately after, I opened my gaping maw and bit down on his neck. My immense biting force instantly activated, directly crushing his cervical vertebrae. The brown bear's body twitched violently twice, and then completely lost all signs of life. I lowered my head, and my sharp claws sliced open. His belly, a dark, twisted bear gall bladder appeared in my hand. After becoming a top carnivore, I had an instinctive craving for animal organs. I swallowed the bear gall bladder in one gulp. Instantly, the rumble of tank tracks, the roar of armored vehicle engines, and the whirring of helicopter rotors grew clearer and clearer. From distant to near, my expression instantly darkened. I knew humanity's first wave of suppression had begun. In my previous life, 3 hours after the mutation occurred, the human military began a full-scale operation, indiscriminately clearing out all mutated animals in the city. Those mutated beasts occupying urban territories were their primary targets. And even though I have now fused with over 10 ancient genes, I still didn't have an absolute chance of victory against humanity's heavy thermal weapons. Especially tank armor-piercing shells and armed helicopter, air-to-ground missiles were enough to inflict fatal damage on me now. More importantly, my sister was still waiting for me at home. I couldn't waste time here. I turned and immediately rushed into the nearby forest. Damn it! Why did I run into them at this exact moment? I immediately held my breath and hid motionless in the bushes deep within the forest, hoping this group of people would leave quickly. But things didn't go as I wished. The tank at the front of the convoy actually stopped right at the edge of the forest. It looked like they were preparing to rest here, hidden in the forest. I instantly became extremely anxious. Every minute I waited meant one more minute of danger for my sister. What if she didn't listen to me and ran out of the basement? What if other mutated beasts broke into our home? What if? I dared not think further. I couldn't wait any longer. I turned, preparing to go around the forest from the back, but my 12-meter-long massive body, trying to move through the forest without making a sound. The moment I took 2 steps, the surrounding trees rustled loudly. I was instantly discovered by the soldiers on guard outside the forest. Report, Commander, there's something in the forest soon. A calm male voice rang out. All units, be on alert. From the sound of it, it's very likely a large carnivorous beast. Machine gunners, prepare the next second. A line of heavy machine guns began to furiously sweep the forest, bullets raining down on the surrounding tree trunks, sending wood chips flying. Immediately after, the tank's cannon slowly rotated and fired a shell directly at the swaying trees. With a boom, the shell exploded beside me. The massive shockwave sent the surrounding earth flying. Even with my terrifying scaled armor defense, I instantly felt a surge of intense soreness. My position was exposed. I immediately adopted an S-shaped escape route, sprinting deep into the forest. But it was because of this run that my dinosaur form was instantly exposed in the army's sight. Commander, it's a dinosaur. It's the T-Rex that escaped from the museum. I clearly heard the leading commander, Wang Jun, gasp. It was him. In my previous life, it was this Wang Jun who led the army and took my sister, Chen Nuo, as a precognitive, arrested her, tortured her, and interrogated her about how she knew about the mutation in advance. Finally, when the tsunami arrived, he directly threw my mentally broken sister into the soon-to-be-submerged Da Kun City, letting her drown alive in the floodwaters. I stared intently at Wang Jun outside the forest. The killing intent in Wang Jun's eyes almost solidified. But I also knew very well that now was not the time to confront him directly. Although the dense jungle was not suitable for tank pursuit, their heavy firepower could still pose a fatal threat to me. Moreover, their mission this time was to clear out Kaizu County's mutated beasts and protect the unmutated humans in the city. And my sister was in Kaizu County. I didn't get entangled with them further. I spread the Quetzalcoatlus wings on my back, and with a powerful flap, the immense lift instantly carried me into the sky, rapidly flying towards Kaizu County. Wang Jun behind me, watching my figure disappear into the sky. His face was ashen, but he could only watch helplessly, with no way to stop me. After more than 10 minutes of flight, I finally arrived at the outskirts of Kaizu County. Home was in the county town, and my sister was inside. I stood on a small hill outside the town and looked towards the county town. But the scene before me instantly made my heart sink to rock bottom. The entire Kaizu County was filled with fire and explosions. Gunshots rang out one after another, and the armed forces that attacked me earlier had already killed all the mutated beasts, causing trouble in the county town. The surviving humans were gathered by soldiers in the central square of the county town, and were being transported away in military vehicles. Batch by batch, my gaze frantically searched through the crowd. Soon, I saw that familiar figure, my sister, Chen Nuo. She was wearing the white dress I bought her, being roughly pulled by 2 soldiers towards a military vehicle. She struggled desperately. Her tender hands were chafed red by the handcuffs. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She cried out repeatedly, "Don't pull me. Let me go. My brother hasn't come back yet. He told me to wait for him here." I can't leave seeing this scene. My eyes instantly became bloodshot. My entire body's scaled armor bristled with rage. "You damn things. You dare to touch my sister. I'll kill you all." I abruptly stood up, about to charge down the mountain. But just then, a rustling sound in the forest caught my attention. 2 young men, holding knives, emerged from behind a tree. The moment they saw me, they were scared out of their wits and sat down on the ground. "Oh my God, why is there a dinosaur here? Shut up, or I'll eat you," I said coldly. My sharp claws pointed at them. "Who are you? Why are you here?" One of the older men quickly shielded his younger brother behind him and stammered, "Dinosaur brother, we are residents of the city. The soldiers in the county town are not protecting people at all. They are conscripting men to drag us to the front lines to fight desperately against those mutated beasts. We escaped to avoid being conscripted. Dinosaur brother, please spare our lives." My brother and I looked at them and instantly calmed down. I recognized these 2. In my previous life, it was these 2 who led Wang Jun to raid my sister's shelter, which is why my sister was captured by Wang Jun. Now they would be useful. I suddenly extended my claw and hooked the younger brother. "Wang Sheng." My claw pressed firmly on Wang Sheng. My gaze was fixed on the square down the mountain, my heart pounding rapidly. Nuo, wait for Big Brother. Big Brother is coming to save you. This time, I will absolutely not let you suffer any more grievances." 10 minutes later, the roar of a motorcycle suddenly came from down the mountain. Wang Yan was riding a stolen motorcycle, frantically speeding up the mountain. Behind him, a group of soldiers in vehicles were in hot pursuit, constantly shouting warnings, "Don't enter the mountain." "Catch him quickly." Wang Yan rushed to the foot of the mountain, abandoned the vehicle, and plunged into the dense forest. But the soldiers with police dogs, upon reaching the forest entrance, suddenly stopped. Those who, even when encountering tigers on normal days, would tremble and lie on the ground, refused to move another step forward. "What's wrong? Why aren't the police dogs moving? There must be something wrong in the mountain." And at this moment, Wang Yan had already run, panting, to stand before me, and said with a pale face, "Dinosaur brother, the girl you asked me to find out about has already been put on the vehicle. They're about to take her to the headquarters in Da Kun City, Da Kun City." Hearing these 3 words, I instantly became anxious. A chill ran from my feet, straight to the top of my head. In my previous life, Da Kun City would suffer an unprecedented tsunami 1 month after the mutation outbreak. 100-meter-high giant waves would completely submerge the entire Da Kun City. Millions of people in the city would have almost no chance of survival. My sister in the previous life. The sound pierced through the forest and echoed throughout the entire county town. The soldiers at the foot of the mountain instantly realized. No wonder the police dogs didn't dare to enter the mountain. It was that one from before, Wang Jun, leading the team with Wang Long hiding there, heard my roar and instantly turned livid, roaring menacingly. "This dinosaur is simply too arrogant, actually following us all this time. Immediately assemble the troops and enter the mountain to hunt it down. We must kill it today instantly." A full 3 teams of fully armed soldiers, carrying heavy firepower, began charging up the mountain. Looking at the approaching soldiers, my eyes held no fear, but were filled with cold killing intent. "Since you've delivered yourselves to my doorstep, don't blame me for being impolite." I threw Wang Sheng, who was in my hand, to the side and roared at him, "Get lost. Don't be an eyesore here." Wang Sheng and Wang Yan, who had just run over, as if granted a great pardon, scrambled away until they were out of sight. And I, facing the charging soldiers, suddenly charged down. The foremost soldier, upon seeing my figure, was scared out of his wits and quickly shouldered his rocket launcher. Aiming it at me, he pulled the trigger. The rocket, trailing its exhaust, whistled towards me. I tilted my head, and the rocket almost grazed my scales as it flew past, landing behind me, on a tree, exploding into smithereens. Taking advantage of the moment they were reloading, I charged directly into the crowd. My thick tail swept out fiercely, and instantly 5 or 6 soldiers were swept away at the waist, spitting blood and dying on the spot. The remaining soldiers, seeing my terrifying lethality, instantly panicked. Some, looking at my true size, even with guns in their hands, lost the courage to resist, and turned to flee. But how could I possibly give them a chance to escape? I began to rampage. My massive body crashed through the crowd, knocking everyone would take a life. In just 1 minute, the 3 teams of soldiers who had charged up the mountain were scattered and decimated by me. But just as I was getting into the swing of the killing, I didn't notice that I had already charged onto the highway at the foot of the mountain. A tank suddenly appeared before me. My 6-ton body crashed down heavily, not only snapping the tank's cannon barrel, but also crushing its treads. I frantically stomped on the tank's top hatch. The driver inside was directly knocked unconscious. But just then, armed vehicles loaded with heavy firepower arrived as reinforcements. One after another, grenades continuously exploded around me. The violent explosions tore several gashes in my scale, and blood instantly flowed out. I gritted my teeth, knowing clearly that I had been too reckless just now. If this continued, not only would my sister be in danger, but I myself would also fall here. As long as the Green Mountains remain, there will be wood to burn. I turned and fiercely charged into the collapsed houses, blocking the pursuing vehicles and the soldiers' line of sight. Taking advantage of this gap, I spread my wings again and flew towards Greater Kun City. Rapidly, my sister had already been taken to Greater Kun City. I had to catch up as quickly as possible. My flying speed reached an astonishing 200 kilometers per hour, faster than high-speed rail. In less than 2 hours, I would be able to fly to Greater Kun City. I flew rapidly through the air towards Greater Kun City. Along the way, I saw too much misery. The city was filled with burning buildings, and the streets were covered with corpses. The struggle between humans and mutated beasts was everywhere. 2 hours later, I finally flew above Greater Kun City. At this moment, Greater Kun City had been completely blockaded by the military. The city's outskirts were lined with dense electric fences and barbed wire. Patrols and armored vehicles were everywhere. Suddenly, there was a commotion. I looked down and saw 8 armored vehicles and 2 tanks parked around the highway toll booth. A group of fully armed soldiers were bringing a batch of survivors, transported from surrounding cities, off the vehicles, and in the crowd, I immediately spotted that familiar figure, Chen Nuo, my sister. She was being held down by 2 soldiers, her hands in handcuffs, standing out from the other survivors. Her face was pale, and her eyes were filled with fear and helplessness, yet she stubbornly pursed her lips, refusing to bow her head. Just then, a man with general's stars on his shoulder walked up to her and said to the soldier beside him, "Take her to headquarters interrogation room." Its Commander Liang's order. Chen Nuo's body trembled violently upon hearing this, and tears instantly streamed down her face. She cried out, "Why? I don't want to go. I want to go home. I want to wait for my brother." I breathed a sigh of relief. At least my sister wouldn't be in immediate mortal danger in his hands. But I also knew very well that I didn't have much time left. In my previous life, the tsunami in Greater Kun City was less than a month away. I had to rescue my sister as quickly as possible and take her away from this city that was about to be submerged. For the next 2 days, I stayed on the mountains surrounding Greater Kun City, observing the military headquarters defenses, looking for an opportunity to infiltrate. These 2 days, the mutated beasts around Greater Kun City had been mostly cleared by the military. The surviving humans were all trying their best to rush to Greater Kun City because it was the safest central city in their eyes. But they didn't know that it was about to become a tomb. The more people who rushed to Greater Kun City, the harder it would be for me to find my sister and take her away. I had to find a way to delay the military convoys to buy time for rescuing my sister. That night, I took action. I spread my wings and flew to the highway bridge leading to Greater Kun City. This bridge spanned the entire river and was the only way to enter Greater Kun City. The bridge body was entirely reinforced concrete, stretching for over 10 kilometers. 6 heavy pillars, each over 2 meters in diameter, were deeply embedded in the riverbed. I landed in the bridge arch below, looking at the thick, heavy pillars before me. Without the slightest hesitation, I suddenly turned, raised my huge tail, and struck it fiercely. With a thunderous boom, the cement on the outside of the pillar instantly cracked, revealing the mesh of thick rebar inside. Immediately after, I opened my gaping maw and, with a biting force capable of crushing steel, bit down hard on the rebar. Asterisk crunch exclamation asterisk the mesh of thick rebar was directly bitten through by me. I bit through the rebar one by one, destroying the bridge's load-bearing pillars. When the first load-bearing pillar completely broke, the vehicles on the bridge instantly felt a violent tremor. Immediately after, I began frantically destroying the other load-bearing pillars. 10 minutes later, traffic on the bridge began to sway uncontrollably from side to side. Dense cracks appeared on the road surface, and many vehicles collided one after another, and the entire bridge instantly became completely jammed. A fat man grumbled as he got out of his car, wanting to see what was happening ahead. But when he walked up to the vehicle that had rear-ended his car, he instantly widened his eyes and let out a terrified scream. He saw a magnificent tiger sitting in the driver's seat of that car, coldly staring at him. Holy crap! It's a tiger. Tiger that's a human, his scream instantly ignited everyone's emotions. Someone, I don't know who, shouted, "Kill him! People who turn into animals deserve to die, yes. Kill him! Beat him to death!" The continuous shouts instantly echoed throughout the entire bridge. The Siberian tiger in the driver's seat looked at the surrounding crowd. Its eyes full of coldness, it opened its mouth to let out a deafening roar. "I still consider myself a person. You'd best not provoke me. I'm going to Greater Kun City to surrender. The central cities belong to us humans." "You are already not human," a man shouted, raising his training gun and firing at the tiger. The bullets hit the tiger's fur, only sparking a little. The Siberian tiger instantly became enraged. "I didn't want conflict, but you forced me. Brothers, come out!" Following a wild bellow, huge rhinoceros instantly rammed and sent the truck's roof flying, bursting out of the cargo compartment. Immediately after, 4 strong wild yaks also charged out. Finally, a leopard sliced through the air in a graceful arc and landed beside the tiger. The surrounding crowd was instantly intimidated and retreated in panic, their guns trembling uncontrollably in their hands. A single training gun simply couldn't withstand so many powerful mutated beasts. The leopard yawned and said lazily, "I told you, driving isn't for you. You insisted, and now look what happened." Right, the Siberian tiger ignored him, slammed its tail against the side of the truck, and roared at the crowd, "If you don't want to die, get lost." But just then, a sound came from under the bridge, a violent shaking. The entire bridge deck began to sway wildly, and the cracks on the road surface grew wider and deeper. Everyone instantly panicked, no longer caring about the tiger. They screamed and turned to run. But just then, a woman's scream, "What are you afraid of? The 4 of us together can't beat a lizard," the Siberian tiger roared and lunged directly at me. "You dinosaur, why are you destroying the bridge? We're going to Greater Kun City to fight mutated beasts with humans and protect our homeland. Why are you stopping us?" I looked at him, unable to help but laugh. "What are you laughing at?" the Siberian tiger roared. "Have you lost your human heart?" "How naive," I said coldly. "You think that if you go to Greater Kun City, humans will accept you. They will only treat you as experimental subjects, dissect you, and study you. In my previous life, you 4 were caught by humans when you went to the city and were dissected alive." The Siberian tiger froze, clearly not understanding my words. But he still refused to give up and lunged at me again. I couldn't be bothered to waste words with him, so I fiercely swung my tail, striking him squarely. The loud asterisk bang exclamation asterisk. The Siberian tiger was sent crashing to the ground like a kite with a broken string, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. And the bridge, under my attack, finally couldn't bear the weight. The entire bridge body began to sink wildly, and cracks spread like a spiderweb. "The bridge is going to collapse. Run!" The crowd on the bridge instantly fell into chaos. They screamed and fled in all directions. I turned, preparing to leave. But just then, the recovering Siberian tiger, once again. The wild yaks and the rhinoceros flanked me from left and right. "You destroyed our path to survival. Today, you won't leave here alive." The Siberian tiger roared and charged at me again. The wild yaks and the rhinoceros also attacked simultaneously. The leopard, meanwhile, kept circling, looking for an opportunity to ambush. I looked at them, my eyes full of coldness. "And you insist on seeking death. I shall grant your wish." I suddenly exerted force, rushing towards the Siberian tiger. I opened my mouth and bit towards its neck. It quickly dodged, but my forepaw had already slammed heavily onto its body, instantly shattering its bones. Immediately after, I turned and fiercely swung my tail, sending the ambushing leopard crashing into the broken bridge railing. Killing it instantly, the rhinoceros lowered its head and charged at my belly with its sharp horn. I suddenly leaped up and stomped on its head, crushing its entire skull into the bridge deck. Finally, only the wild yak remained, looking at me, terrified and trembling all over. It turned to run. How could I give it a chance to escape? I spread my wings and swiftly flew over, piercing its body with a single claw. In just 1 minute, all 4 elite mutated creatures were killed by me. Successfully killing an elite mutated creature grants 40 purification points. Current purification value, 24.41,000. But just then, the roar of helicopter blades echoed in the sky. 3 armed helicopters flew over, their searchlights locking onto my figure. Target found, confirmed a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Multiple beast carcasses also in the vicinity. The military command instantly issued an order. Level 1 threat. Kill on sight the next second. Countless bullets rained down towards me. Mortar shells continuously exploded around me. My scales were blown open with gashes, and blood instantly flowed out. Having just dealt with those 4 fierce beasts, I was truly a bit exhausted. Now, these 3 armed helicopters posed a huge threat to me. These humans are truly relentless. I gritted my teeth, turned, and plunged into the river beneath the bridge. The Azure Dragon gene instantly activated. I moved swiftly through the water like a torpedo. The dark river surface quickly caused the helicopters to lose their target. I traveled more than 10 kilometers in the river before finally dragging my exhausted body ashore. The wounds on my body, under the water bear's regenerative ability, had already begun to heal rapidly. But I knew clearly that my juvenile form ultimately couldn't withstand humanity's powerful thermal weapons. I must evolve to an adult form as quickly as possible. In the following days, all mutated beasts of adult form became my hunting targets. Killing 1 adult form granted 100 evolution points. In just 5 days, I hunted 7 adult mutated beasts. My evolution value also soared to 9,444/10,000. I was only 56 points away from being able to evolve to adult form. And just then, I finally found an opportunity to infiltrate the military headquarters. A large-scale beast horde erupted around Greater Kun City, with millions of mutated beasts charging towards Greater Kun City. Most of the military's forces were transferred to the front lines for defense. The guards at headquarters instantly became sparse. This was my chance. I found the interrogation room where my sister was being held. I looked through the glass on the door and saw my sister, Chen Nuo, wearing a school uniform. She sat on the chair, her eyes listless. Her small face was pale. She had lost a lot of weight, and her lips were dry and cracked. Clearly, she hadn't eaten well these past 2 days, or drunk water. The 2 police officers responsible for interrogating her looked helpless. Clearly, they hadn't gotten anything out of her these past 2 days. Just then, the interrogation room door opened. Yang Zhenyu walked in and said to the 2 police officers, "You 2 go out first. I'll talk to her." The 2 police officers turned and walked out. Only Liang Zhenyu and my sister remained in the interrogation room. Chen Nuo looked up at him, her eyes full of wariness, and said hoarsely, "So it was you who had them bring me here. My name is Liang Zhenyu, second-rank officer of the Greater Kun City Suppression Force." Liang Zhenyu pulled up a chair and sat opposite her. He said gently, "Little girl, I'm very curious. Greater Kun City is now one of the safest cities in the country. There are no rampaging animals, no riots. Why do you insist on going back?" Chen Nuo's emotions instantly surged, and tears immediately streamed down her face. "I want to wait for my brother. He promised he would come for me. He will definitely come. I know all about your situation," Liang Zhenyu said, looking at her, his eyes full of doubt. "But now I need to know why you would purchase supplies in advance, hide in the basement, and insist on being vegetarian." In your basement, there are over 100 caddies of fresh vegetables alone. Canned fruits, spices, various drinking water, and compressed biscuits are enough for you to eat for half a year. You told me you didn't have money to buy meat. Did you already know that the mutation would happen? Chen Nuo pursed her lips, clutching her hands tightly, refusing to say another word. Outside the door, watching this scene, my heart felt like it was being fiercely squeezed. My foolish sister, in order not to expose the secret of my rebirth, actually endured 2 days of interrogation without saying anything. I couldn't hold back any longer. I violently smashed open the interrogation room door and rushed in. Liang Zhenyu, seeing the sudden, mini Tyrannosaurus Rex that charged in, instantly changed his expression dramatically. He suddenly... But Chen Nuo, upon seeing me, first froze for a moment. Then, tears gushed out like a bursting dam. She suddenly stood up and rushed towards me. She hugged my miniature body tightly, crying out, "Brother, brother, you finally came. I knew you would definitely come to save me." I rubbed my head against her face, and in a voice only we two could, I gently said, Nuo, I'm sorry. Brother is late and made you suffer." Liang Zhenyu, watching the scene before him, was completely stunned. The gun in his hand almost fell to the ground. He never would have thought that this Tyrannosaurus Rex that suddenly burst in was actually Chen Nuo's brother. He instantly realized why Chen Nuo would know about the mutation in advance, and why she would prepare everything beforehand. It was because her brother already knew all of this. I raised my head and looked coldly at Liang Zhenyu, my body rapidly growing larger at a visible speed. 1 meter, 3 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters. In just a few seconds, I regained my massive 12-meter-long body. The entire interrogation room was instantly burst open by my body. Liang Zhenyu was sent flying by the air current, crashing heavily into the corridor. He looked up at the colossal creature before him, his eyes filled with horror. The entire military headquarters instantly blared with piercing alarm bells. Countless soldiers, raising their guns, rushed towards us. They surrounded the entire corridor, making it impenetrable. Liang Zhenyu scrambled up from the ground, raised his gun, and roared at me, "Chen Nuo, put down Chen Nuo, or I'll shoot." I shielded my sister behind me, looked at him coldly, and said, "Liang Zhenyu, I don't want to fight you. In my previous life, you saved my sister's life once. This life, I won't kill you, but no one will stop me from taking my sister." My words instantly stunned Liang Zhenyu. In his previous life, he wouldn't have understood what I was saying at all. But just then, the charging soldiers had already raised their guns, aiming at me. "Commander, should we open fire?" Liang Zhenyu looked at my sister, who was tightly clutching my leg behind me, her face full of fear yet still stubbornly looking at him. He fell silent, then looked at me, Tyrannosaurus Rex capable of destroying the entire headquarters. Finally, he slowly lowered the gun in his hand. "Put down your guns," he shouted at the soldiers. "Commander," I said, "put down your guns." Liang Zhenyu roared again. The soldiers exchanged glances, and finally slowly lowered their guns. I looked at Liang Zhenyu. My eyes seriously said, "But I must tell you, in less than 20 days, a 100-meter-high tsunami will sweep across Greater Kun City. At that time, the city will be completely submerged. Millions of people in the city will have no chance of survival." "What did you say?" Liang Zhenyu's expression changed dramatically. "A tsunami? Impossible. Greater Kun City sea defenses are impregnable. How could it possibly be submerged by a tsunami?" "Impregnable," I sneered. "In my previous life, you also thought so, but in the end, less than 1% of Greater Kun City's population survived." I threw a portable hard drive in front of him. "Inside here are all the data from the tsunami in my previous life. Also your military's sea defense deployment maps, and the exact time and route of the tsunami's arrival. See for yourself." Liang Zhenyu picked up the hard drive from the ground, his hands trembling slightly. He knew that this deployment map was top military secret. Besides him and a few top officers, no outsider could possibly know about it. What this Tyrannosaurus Rex in front of him said was very likely true. I don't care if you believe it or not. I'm now taking my sister away." I looked at her and spoke again. "If you don't want millions of people in Greater Kun City to be buried at the bottom of the sea, then organize an evacuation as quickly as possible." After saying that, I lowered my head and gently said to my sister, Nuo, let's go." Chen Nuo nodded vigorously, holding tightly onto my neck. I spread the Quetzalcoatlus wings on my back and flapped them fiercely. The enormous force instantly carried me into the sky. Under the shocked gazes of countless soldiers, I carried my sister and flew towards the mountains outside Greater Kun City. The moment I flew out of the military headquarters, a huge weight was finally lifted from my heart. I had finally rescued my sister. This time, I would never let her leave my side again. We flew to a safe house in the mountains. This was something I had prepared in advance, a shelter with abundant supplies, absolutely safe. My sister hugged my neck and cried for a long time before finally calming down. She looked at my massive Tyrannosaurus Rex body, her eyes full of awe. She said with a smile, "Brother, you really turned into a Tyrannosaurus Rex." You're so amazing, I smiled and used my head to nuzzle her face, my heart filled with tenderness. This was the meaning of my rebirth, to protect my sister. In the following days, I took my sister to hunt mutated beasts in the mountains to accumulate purification points. I prepared ground sloth fossil powder and water bear gene fragments for my sister, so that when she mutated, she could transform into the safest, most defensible ground sloth, possessing an immortal body like mine. And on this day, I hunted an adult, mutated giant dragon and gained 100 purification points. My purification value finally reached 10,000/10,000. Evolution value full, commencing purification instantly. An indescribable burning sensation, once again, swept through my entire body. My body began to grow wildly, all the fused genes at this moment completely and perfectly integrated. The Tyrannosaurus Rex's ferocity, the water bear's immortality, the Quetzalcoatlus' swiftness, the Dunkleosteus' defense, the Dunkleosteus' biting force, the Mantis shrimp's dynamic power, the azure dragon's control, the saber-toothed tiger's sharpness, the woolly mammoth's heavy physique, all merged into one. My body length surged from 12 meters to 20 meters. My height reached 8 meters, and my weight soared to 20 tons. My biting force reached a terrifying 20 tons. The hardness of my scales was enough to withstand tank-piercing rounds. Spreading my wings, I could even achieve supersonic flight. Successfully evolved to adult form, I let out a deafening roar towards the sky. All the mutated beasts were so scared that they prostrated themselves on the ground, trembling. And just as my evolution was complete, my sister's mutation also began. She had eaten the ground sloth fossil powder I prepared for her. Her body began to transform. But just then, an accident occurred. My sister's body suddenly began to convulse violently. Her face was pale, and her breathing was weak. The fusion had failed. I instantly panicked. I had never encountered this situation in my previous life. Watching my sister's painful state, my heart felt like it was being fiercely clutched. Without the slightest hesitation, I used my claws to cut open my scales, let out blood containing all my fused genes, and fed it to my sister. Little by little, my blood carried the water bear's regenerative genes and the fused sequences of all ancient creatures. It would definitely save her. For a full 3 minutes, her entire body was covered with tough fur. She possessed super strength and defense, and she had the same regenerative ability as me. More importantly, swept towards Greater Kun City. The tsunami arrived a full 3 days earlier than in my previous life. Because my rebirth had completely altered the timeline, I looked at that sky-obscuring wall of water, my eyes filled with solemnity. In my previous life, this tsunami submerged the entire Greater Kun City, burying millions of people at the bottom of the sea. This life, even though I had warned Liang Zhenyu in advance, the time left for them was still too short. Brother, what should we do? My sister looked at me, her eyes full of worry. I looked down at my sister, then at Greater Kun City in the distance, about to be swallowed by the tsunami. I took a deep breath. In my previous life, I was an alligator-snapping turtle hiding in the sewers, unable to even protect my own sister. This life, I am a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a prehistoric overlord. I am Earth's apex predator. I cannot just stand by and watch millions of people be buried at the bottom of the sea. Nuo, you wait here for me. Don't go anywhere. I looked at my sister and said seriously, brother will be back soon, brother. I'm coming with you. I want to help too, my sister said stubbornly. I looked at her and finally nodded. All right, we'll go together. Brother and sister, I spread my wings. My sister hugged my neck, and together we flew towards Greater Kun City. At this moment, Greater Kun City was in complete chaos. Piercing alarm bells echoed throughout the entire city. The coastal defenses had already been breached by the first wave of the tsunami. A 100-meter-high giant wave, like a colossal beast opening its gaping maw, was about to completely swallow the entire city. People in the city screamed and cried, frantically fleeing towards higher ground. But how could their speed possibly match the speed of the tsunami? Liang Zhenyu stood on the tallest building, watching the sweeping tsunami, his eyes filled with despair. He had already organized an evacuation, but time was too short. There wasn't enough time to evacuate many people. Are millions of people in Greater Kun City really going to be buried here just as everyone fell into despair? A deafening dragon roar echoed throughout the sky. Everyone looked up towards the sky. They saw a 20-meter-long, colossal Tyrannosaurus rex, spreading its sky-obscuring wings. It carried a huge ground sloth and flew to the front of the tsunami. It was me. I looked at the 100-meter-high, giant wave before me, without the slightest fear. I activated my Azure Dragon genes, gathering them together. I charged fiercely towards the giant wave. I slammed my 20-ton body heavily into the very front of the giant. With an earth-shattering boom, I, with my own body, forcefully blocked the impact of the first wave of the tsunami. The entire world seemed to stand still at this moment. All the running people stopped in their tracks, staring dumbfounded at the Tyrannosaurus rex in the sky, blocking the tsunami with its body. Xianxia looked at my figure, his eyes filled with shock and guilt. He finally understood that everything I had said before was true. But the first wave of the tsunami was just the beginning. There were even higher and more terrifying waves behind it, sweeping in. I gritted my teeth and activated the water bear's regenerative ability. Even if my scales were cracked and bones broken by the pounding waves, they could be instantly repaired. I exerted force again, using the Azure Dragon gene to control the water flow. I slowly diverted the sweeping giant waves towards the nearby, uninhabited area. My sister also rushed up, using her ground sloth's strength to help me block the water flow. We, brother and sister, were like two insurmountable dams, blocking the front of Greater Kun City. This battle lasted for a full 3 hours. When the last wave of the tsunami was completely diverted by me to the uninhabited area, I finally ran out of strength and fell from the sky. I crashed heavily onto the beach. My sister immediately ran, hugging me, crying and shouting, "Brother, brother, are you okay?" I gasped for breath, nuzzled her face with my head, and said with a smile, "Silly girl, brother is fine. Your brother is a Tyrannosaurus rex. I don't die that easily." And just then, countless people ran onto the beach. Liang Zhenyu, with his soldiers and countless surviving citizens, ran up to me. They looked at me, their eyes no longer filled with fear, but only with profound reverence and gratitude. Liang Zhenyu walked up to me, stood at attention, and saluted me with a standard military salute. "Mr. Chen Mo, on behalf of millions of surviving citizens of Greater Kun City, thank you." All the soldiers and citizens behind him bowed deeply to me. "Thank you, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Thank you for saving us." Continuous shouts of gratitude echoed throughout the entire beach. I looked at them, my heart filled with mixed emotions. In my previous life, I was an alligator-snapping turtle who lived for 2.5 years and ultimately died tragically as a vicious turtle. This life, I was reborn as a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Not only did I protect my sister, but I also protected this city and saved millions of lives. I raised my head and looked at the distant sky. I knew that this global mutation was far from over. Reborn as a Tyrannosaurus Rex, the world mutated. I fused with prehistoric overlords. Subsequently, in the salty, fishy sea breeze as the tsunami receded, I lay on the beach, recovering for a full 10 minutes before I could barely prop up my massive body. The water bear's regenerative ability was operating frantically, and the scales that had burst open on my body were healing at a visible speed. The surrounding citizens watched me. Not a single person showed fear anymore. Instead, one by one, with red eyes, they continuously bowed to me. Liang Zhenyu walked quickly to my front, holding a military first aid kit in his hand. Even though he knew about my self-healing ability, he still cautiously wanted to treat my wounds. His soldiers followed behind him, carrying large barrels of fresh meat. It was all fresh beef, just brought out from the cold storage. "Mr. Chen Mo, thank you for saving the entire city. These supplies are a small token of gratitude from everyone in the city." I lowered my head and looked at the several barrels of fresh meat, weighing 1,000 catties in total. The Tyrannosaurus Rex's instincts were instantly stirred. After evolving into a growth stage body, my appetite more than tripled. I had just used up all my strength, resisting the tsunami, and my stomach had been growling for a while. I didn't stand on ceremony with him, opening my gaping maw and swallowing several buckets of fresh meat in a few bites. The warm meat entering my stomach instantly transformed into a surge of warm current flowing through my entire body. Ding! Energy replenished. Body damage 100% repaired. Current evolution value 10/44/2000. Unlocked growth stage 2. Full access. I was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed. So, after evolving into a growth stage body, I could advance. And just now, resisting the walrus even unlocked second-tier permission. Awesome. So awesome. I flicked my tail, its tip sweeping across the beach, directly carving a several-meter-deep gully in the hard sand. The power of growth stage 2 was exactly double that of stage 1. Liang Zhenyu looked at my casual strike's power, and the awe in his eyes intensified. Just then, urgent car engine sounds came from afar. A dozen military vehicles sped towards the beach, at high speed. Before the cars had even stopped, a man in military uniform jumped out. I recognized him instantly. Wang Jun, the one who had previously had my sister arrested and tortured. A low, threatening growl escaped my mouth. My 20-meter-long body slightly arched, ready to launch a fatal strike at any moment. Nyunyo also immediately blocked in front of my body, the giant ground sloth digging her claws firmly into the ground, letting out an angry roar at the charging Wang Jun. Even though she had just finished one round, even though she was trembling with fear inside, she still fiercely protected me from behind. Seeing my sister's small body blocking in front of me, my eyes instantly welled up. In my previous life, I had fought with my life to protect her. This time, she had actually learned to protect me. This scene directly struck the softest spot in my heart. Liang Zhenyu also instantly pulled out his gun and sternly shouted at Wang Jun. Wang Jun, what are you trying to do? With a thud, he knelt straight down before my sister and me. This iron-blooded tough guy, a man who hadn't even frowned on the battlefield in his previous life, now had red-rimmed eyes. He heavily kowtowed 3 times to my sister. Miss Chen Nuo, I'm sorry. In my previous life, I was the one who harmed you. This single sentence made me freeze on the spot. My entire being was stunned. What was going on? How could he know about my previous life? Wang Jun raised his head, his face full of guilt and pain, and slowly revealed a truth I had never known. In his previous life, he had indeed taken my sister into the interrogation room, but he had never intended to harm her. At that time, there was an insider among the military's high command who had targeted my sister, who knew about the mutation news in advance. They wanted to capture her for live experiments to study her precognitive abilities. After Wang Jun found out, he could only lock my sister in his own interrogation room under the guise of torture, protecting her in this way by keeping her by his side. But he didn't expect the tsunami to come so quickly. The insider launched the interrogation prematurely. He was entangled by rebels and couldn't break free, though he could only order his subordinates to take my sister and evacuate first. However, his subordinates encountered mutated beast attacks on the way. In the end, my sister was still swept away by the flood. He himself was also in that rebellion. By the insider, shot in the back and died in the tsunami. He also reincarnated. He was reborn an hour before the mutation occurred. The first thing he did was personally execute the insider who betrayed him in his previous life. Then he led his troops to Keiksu County, specifically to find my sister and protect her by his side. To make up for his past life's shortcomings, when he saw me on the mountain, he didn't want to kill me. He was afraid I would impulsively rush down and be accidentally harmed by other soldiers' frantic fire. That's why he ordered the encirclement of the mountain to suppress. In reality, he wanted to keep the other soldiers at the foot of the mountain to create an opportunity for me to save my sister. After hearing all this, my entire being froze. My mind buzzed with noise. The person I had hated my entire previous life was actually the one who had fought with his life to protect my sister. This twist came too suddenly. Nyunyo also froze as the hostility in her eyes slowly receded, leaving only a face full of astonishment. Liang Zhenyu was also stunned. He had partnered with Wang Jun for over a decade and never knew there was such a hidden story. Wang Jun kowtowed to us again and said hoarsely, Mr. Chen Mo, Miss Chen Nuo, my life belongs to you. Siblings, from now on, my life, Wang Jun's life, is at your disposal. I will climb mountains of blades and descend into seas of fire without a single word of complaint. After he finished speaking, he directly pulled out his service pistol and offered it to me butt first as a sign of sincerity. I looked at the sincerity and guilt in his eyes, then looked at my sister beside me. Finally, I slowly lowered my attacking posture. The grudges from the previous life, since the truth was this way, were now wiped clean. What's more, now that a great enemy was before us, one more ally meant one more strength. I flicked my tail, pushing his gun back. Get up. The past life's matters are over. Don't let Nyunyo suffer any more grievances in the future. Wang Jun abruptly raised his head, his eyes bursting with ecstatic light. He again gave a solemn military salute. Yes, I guarantee to complete the mission, definitely gain the loyalty of the military's ace troops. Unlocked all military resource permissions. Awesome. Directly subdued my arch nemesis from the previous life, and also secured all military resources. This was a direct huge profit. Just then, An urgent sound suddenly came from Wang Jun's walkie-talkie. A distress call. Report. Sir, it's bad. The Xianxia defense line has been breached. A giant mutated beast has appeared, and we can't hold it back. Our brothers have already lost over a dozen men. Requesting backup. Requesting backup. Wang Jun's expression instantly changed drastically. Liang Zhenyu also immediately tensed up. What's going on? Wasn't Xianxia just cleared, or did a giant mutated beast come from don't know? This thing is too fast. It's thick-skinned and tough. Bullets don't even work. It has already broken through 3. Hearing this, a chill instantly flashed in my eyes. Just finished dealing with the tsunami, and now some clueless thing comes knocking. Perfect time to test my growth stage 2. Strength. I'll go take a look, I said to Liang Zhenyu and Wang Jun, then unfurled the Quetzalcoatl's wings on my back. With a powerful flap, a huge gust of wind instantly carried me into the sky. Yunyo also immediately grabbed my wing and flew out with me. Wang Jun and Liang Zhenyu also immediately jumped into their cars, leading their troops, and sped towards the west of the city. In just a few dozen seconds, I flew over the Xianxia defense line. Looking down, my pupils suddenly contracted. I saw that the Xianxia defense line had been shattered. Armored vehicles overturned on the ground, burning cars and soldiers' bodies everywhere. And at the defense line's center stood a giant wild boar, a full 15 meters long. Its entire body was covered in steel-like brown fur. Half-meter-long tusks protruded from its mouth. A pair of blood-red eyes were filled with madness and venom. And this face, I'd recognize it even if it turned to ash. Liu Xiancheng. I instantly understood. In my previous life, I had swallowed him whole. In this life, he had actually reincarnated too. What I had crushed in the museum earlier was not his skull at all, but a scapegoat he found using an illusion. After escaping from the museum, he somehow managed to fuse with various ancient animal fossils and had even evolved into a growth stage body. This twist immediately made my entire body's killing intent boil. Liu Xiancheng also saw me in the sky and raised his head, letting out a mad roar. Chen Mo, you bastard! I've been waiting for this day for a long time. In my previous life, you swallowed me whole. In this life, I'm going to tear you to shreds. Isn't your sister your lifeline? Today, I'll tear her to pieces right in front of your face, he then violently charged towards several soldiers nearby. His sharp tusks instantly pierced through the armored vehicle's steel plating. The soldiers inside didn't even get a chance to scream before dying on the spot. Seeing his crazed appearance, the killing intent in my eyes almost overflowed. In my previous life, he had torn my sister apart. This time, he actually dared to scheme against Nuo. He's seeking death. I retracted my wings and plummeted from a height of 20 meters. My 20-ton body slammed heavily in front of Liu Xiancheng. The ground instantly cratered under my impact, sending fragments of rock flying. Liu Xiancheng, I opened my mouth. A deep, resonant voice carrying bone-chilling cold. You owe Nuo. Today, we'll settle the score, principal and interest, all at once. Just you. Liu Xiancheng laughed maniacally. Chen Mo, do you really think I'm still that weakling you could manipulate before? I've now also fused with over a dozen ancient fossils. Everything you have, I have. And things you don't have, I have too. The moment his body suddenly swelled, instantly growing from 15 meters to 20 meters. A pair of wings actually grew on his back. His scales became even thicker and heavier. His tusks grew another segment. He had actually also fused the genes of a Quetzalcoatlus and a Diodon. See that? Liu Xiancheng roared triumphantly. Everything you can think of, I've already thought of. Today is your death day. He violently charged towards me. His speed was astonishing, completely inconsistent with his massive size. His sharp tusks aimed directly at my neck, trying to bite. I stood my ground, not moving an inch. Just as his tusks were about to touch me, I suddenly raised my forepaw and slammed it hard onto his face. With a crunch, Liu Xiancheng's half-face was directly smashed to pulp by me. His massive body flew like a kite with a broken string and crashed heavily onto the ground dozens of meters away. The ground was gouged with a deep trench by his impact. He lay on the ground, letting out painful wails, completely unable to believe that after fusing so many fossil genes, he couldn't even withstand one of my moves. With just this much ability, you dare to challenge me? I took a step towards him, my eyes full of disdain. Do you think just randomly fusing a few fossil genes can compare to me? Every single gene I've fused has been precisely matched and perfectly integrated. You, on the other hand, are just a haphazardly piled up, grotesque monster. Liu Xiancheng watched me approach, then suddenly sprang up from the ground, opened his mouth, and spewed a large mouthful of dark green venom at me. The venom landed on the ground, instantly corroding the concrete into large holes. He had actually fused with the highly toxic genes of a Komodo dragon. But he didn't know that I had long ago fused with the honey badger's antitoxin genes. Let alone Komodo dragon venom. Even king cobra venom was like plain water to me. I stood my ground, letting the venom spray onto my scales, not even leaving a single mark. Liu Xianxia stared at this scene, his eyes wide, his face full of disbelief. Impossible. This is impossible. Nothing is impossible. I charged forward fiercely and bit down on his neck. My immense biting force instantly activated, directly crushing his neck vertebrae. His massive body twitched frantically, his eyes filled with fear and unwillingness. I didn't give him any chance to struggle. With a fierce shake of my head, I directly tore his body in half, successfully killed reincarnated, elite mutated body. Liu Xianxia gained 500 evolution points. Current evolution value, 15/44/2000. Unlocked 2 skills, poison immunity, berserk amplification. Awesome. Directly instantly killed the reincarnated Liu Xianxia. And also unlocked 2 new skills. Evolution value directly increased significantly. The surviving soldiers around watched as I instantly killed the giant beast that had just been rampaging. Wild boar with one move, and instantly erupted into deafening cheers. Tyrannosaurus Rex is awesome. Mr. Chen Mo is awesome. Wang Jun and Liang Zhenyu also rushed over with their troops, looking at Liu Xianxia's corpse on the ground. Both men gasped. They hadn't expected Liu Xianxia to also reincarnate and become so strong. Even more, unexpectedly, he couldn't even withstand one move from me. I shook the blood from my body. Just as I was about to speak, cold mechanical voice suddenly echoed in my mind. Sound. This voice was exactly the same as when the mutation began. Global. Phase 1 of the beast mutation has ended. Phase 2, new beast invasion, is about to begin. Countdown, 72 hours. Rule. When new beasts descend, global hunt begins. Killing new beasts grants star-grade genes, unlocking ultimate evolution. Warning, after new beasts descend, mutated bodies that have not completed growth stage evolution will be automatically erased. This voice once again echoed in everyone's minds across the world. The world instantly erupted into chaos. Everyone was stunned. So, the global beast mutation was not the end, but just the beginning. The new beast invasion actually involved alien beasts that were about to descend. And any mutated bodies that hadn't evolved to the growth stage within 72 hours would be directly erased. Yang Zhenyu and Wang Jun's expressions instantly turned grim. They knew very well that among the billions of mutated bodies worldwide, less than 1 in 10,000 could evolve to the growth stage. This meant that after 72 hours, billions of people worldwide would be directly erased. I also frowned deeply. In my previous life, I only lived for 2.5 years, never even encountered any new beast invasion. I was just run over by a sow and died. I had no idea such a thing existed. No wonder the global population sharply declined by 90% after the mutation year in my previous life. So that's why it wasn't due to infighting, but because of the new beast invasion and the erasure rule just as everyone was falling into panic. Nuo suddenly tugged at my claw, looked up at me with her small face, her eyes showing no fear at all. Brother, don't be scared. No matter what danger there is, I'll be with you. We'll definitely be able to get through it. Looking at my sister's determined eyes, the anxiety in my heart instantly calmed. That's right. In my previous life, I, alone, could survive for 2.5 years. In this life, I have my sister, I have allies, and I have a body full of top-tier fused genes. Forget about star beasts. Even if the king of heaven himself came, I could swallow him whole. Tier apart, Yang Zhenyu used all military district channels to broadcast the news of the new beast invasion nationwide and globally. Wang Jun, on the other hand, led his ace troops to cooperate with me in clearing the surrounding mutated beast nests. For the next 3 days, Nuo and I almost scoured all the mountains and forests around Da Kun City. Any mutated beasts that committed evil or any threatening beast packs were all wiped out by me. For any mutated bodies with potential and good intentions, I took them hunting with me to help them accumulate evolution points and strive for the growth stage. In these 3 days, I encountered too many things that made my nose sting. I met the little girl who had secretly fed me bread when I was a ghoul in my previous life. I helped her kill that pack of mutated wolves, left her enough food and purification resources, making up for the regret of not being able to repay her in my previous life. I met a pair of elderly rabbits, a couple. They guarded the kindergarten entrance. using their bodies to block mutated beasts and protect over a dozen children inside. Even though they were covered in wounds, they didn't retreat an inch. I helped them deal with the mutated beasts, and even left some of my genetic blood to help them enhance their defensive power. I also met my ghoul brother from my previous life, who had hidden with me in the sewers. In his previous life, he was trampled to death by a mutated wild boar while protecting me. This time, I found him, took him hunting with me, and helped him successfully evolve to the growth stage. In 3 days, I killed a total of 8 growth stage mutated beasts and 100 elite mutated bodies. My evolution value also soared to 19/99 2000, just a hair's breadth from breaking through to growth. Stage 3. At around Dawkun City, a full 1,000 mutated bodies successfully purified to the growth stage with my help. Escaping the erasure rule, at the last second of the 72-hour countdown, the sky was once again dyed blood red. Countless black fissures appeared in the skies around the world. Skies? Four-eared roars emerged from the fissures. Immediately after, star beasts, grotesque in appearance and covered in exoskeletons, charged out of the fissures. The star beast invasion had officially begun. The lowest-tier star beasts possessed the strength of ordinary mutated bodies, while high-tier ones were even, comparable to peak growth stage bodies. Moreover, their numbers were immense, pouring out of the fissures like a tide of beasts surged out. Wang Jun, Liang Zhenyu, over 1,000 mutated bodies that had evolved to the growth stage, and tens of thousands of fully armed soldiers all gripped their weapons, their eyes firm as they looked at the charging new beast horde. Brothers, I opened my mouth and let out a deafening roar, my voice echoing throughout the entire city. These alien scum want to seize our homeland and kill our loved ones. Do you agree to that? No, a choral tsunami-like response reverberated throughout Dawkun City. Good. Then follow me and tear all these bastards to shreds the moment my voice. I unfurled my wings and was the first to charge towards the new beast horde. My 20-meter-long body plunged into the new beast horde like a cannonball. My thick tail swept out fiercely, and instantly, over a dozen star beasts were swept into a bloody pulp by me. Successfully killed a tier 1 star beast. Gained purification. Value, 1 point. Current purification value, 2000/2000. Purification value full. Breaking through to growth stage 3. Unlocked ultimate fusion skill. Prehistoric overlord domain instantly. Power 10 times stronger than before surged through my entire body. My body once again violently grew from 20 meters directly to 30 meters. The scales on my body became as hard as black gold. My teeth gleamed with a cold light. My biting force directly broke through 50 tons. I opened my mouth and let out a dragon's roar that shook heaven and earth. The prehistoric overlord domain instantly unfolded. Within a 1-kilometer radius, all new beasts were suppressed by the domain. Unable to move, they trembled all over, not even having the courage to resist. Meanwhile, our human and mutated bodies had their strength doubled under the domain's enhancement. Awesome! Directly broke through to growth stage 3, and also unlocked a domain skill. This wave was directly invincible. I charged forward fiercely, slaughtering in all directions within the new beast horde. 1 bite, 1 kill, 1 claw swipe. A whole group died. 1 sweep of my tail took out a large area. New beast blood splattered all over me. My purification value was also skyrocketing. Yunyo also followed by my side. Her giant ground sloth form, every time she landed, could crush the head of a new beast. She was no longer the little girl who would only hide behind me and cry. She could now stand on her own and fight alongside me. Battle. Wang Jun and Liang Zhenyu led the soldiers, unleashing frantic firepower under the enhancement of my domain. New beasts fell in droves. The battle lasted for a full day and night, and the last new beast was torn to shreds by me. The horizon was already tinged with the lingering white of dawn. Dawkun City's defense line held. We won. Looking at the new beast corpses covering the ground, looking at the people around me, who, despite being covered in wounds, were still smiling, I couldn't help but let out a roar of victory to the sky. But just then, terrifying roar suddenly came from the largest fissure in the sky. A pressure that made the entire earth tremble emerged from the fissure. Immediately after, a giant star beast, over 100 meters long, slowly crawled out of the fissure. Its body was covered in thick exoskeleton. Its 6 eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. It was the leader of this star beast invasion, the king-tier star beast. The moment it appeared, it immediately unleashed a destructive laser beam at the ground. Instantly, several buildings were cut in half by the laser and collapsed with a crash. Countless soldiers and mutated bodies died on the spot without even a scream. Everyone retreat, I immediately roared, shielding Nyunyo behind me. and unfurled my prehistoric overlord domain, firmly blocking its oppressive aura. The strength of this king-tier star beast far exceeded my imagination. Even with my current growth stage 3 strength, I felt immense pressure. You lowly creature, the king-tier star beast opened its mouth, letting out a cold voice. Do you really think you can stop the Star Lord's conquest? Obediently kneel and die, and I can leave you a complete corpse. Conquer our planet, I sneered, my eyes full of disdain. Just you, a mere mongrel, are worthy. Today, I'll show you whose territory this planet is. I charged forward fiercely, aiming a vicious bite at its head, biting down hard. The king-tier star beast also roared, swinging its enormous scythe-like forelimbs at me. We instantly became entangled in battle. Its strength was extremely formidable. Its exoskeleton was ridiculously hard. My teeth could only leave shallow marks on it. Its attacks were also extremely fierce. One scythe strike tore through my scales, and blood instantly flowed out. After a few rounds, I was at a disadvantage, having gained over 10 wounds. Nunuo saw me injured, her eyes red with urgency, and rushed forward recklessly, blocking the king-tier star beast's attack with her own body. I let out a heart-wrenching roar, my heart feeling as if it was being ripped apart. Brother, don't be scared, Nunuo said, looking at me, fresh blood constantly gushing from her mouth, yet she still managed to force a smile. I can protect you now. Her body softly collapsed. The tardigrade's regenerative ability, under the king-tier star beast attack, had actually failed. Her wounds simply wouldn't heal. Watching my sister's dying state, the last string in my mind completely snapped. The scene of my sister dying before me in my previous life overlapped with the current one. The bone-deep hatred and pain instantly swept through my entire being. My body began to undergo a frantic transformation. All the fused genes completely erupted at this moment. Tyrannosaurus rex, tardigrade, Dunkleosteus, Mosasaurus, Quetzalcoatlus, Diodon, the powers of all ancient apex predators fused together. Ding. Host detected. Extreme emotional burst. Unlocking ultimate evolution. Ding. Successfully broken through. To perfect body unlocked full gene fusion. Ultimate form. My body violently grew from 30 meters to 100 meters, standing equally against the king-tier star beast. The wounds on my body instantly healed. Nunuo's body was also enveloped by my domain, her regenerative ability frantically operating. Her wounds healed at a visible speed. I slowly raised my head, my blood-red eyes fixed on the king-tier star beast. A voice like that from hell escaped my mouth. You hurt my sister. You deserve to die. I charged forward fiercely, my speed so fast it broke the sound barrier. Before the king-tier star beast could even react, I bit down on its neck. My immense biting force instantly erupted, directly biting through its impenetrable shoulder, exoskeleton, fiercely piercing its vital. But I bit down hard, giving it no chance to break free. With a violent shake of my head, I directly tore off its head. Ding. Successfully killed. King-tier star beast. Gained Stargrade God-tier genes. Ding. Global star beast invasion channels closed. Phase 1 invasion crisis resolved as the king-tier star beast died. The black fissures in the sky slowly began to close. The remaining star beasts, having lost their leader's command, instantly crumbled and were no longer an army. They were all annihilated by the soldiers and mutated bodies. The crisis was completely resolved. I immediately landed on the ground and reverted to my original size, embracing Nunuo, who slowly opened her eyes. Brother Nunuo reached out and touched my. We won. I held her. My voice choked, and tears couldn't help but fall. This time, I protected my sister. I never again let the tragedy of my previous life repeat itself. Yang Zhenyu and Wang Jun rushed over with their men, looking at the corpse of the king-tier star beast on the ground. Looking at us, safe and sound, everyone erupted into deafening cheers. We had won this war concerning the survival of Earth. 3 months later, Earth ushered in a new order. Humans and mutated bodies coexisted peacefully, establishing a new homeland. My sister and I returned to Keksu County. We built a big house next to our original home. House. Yang Zhenyu and Wang Jun became the administrators of the new order, leading humans and mutated bodies to rebuild their homeland together. My ghoul brother, who had hidden with me in the sewers in my previous life, became the administrator of the forest reserve. The little girl who had fed me bread was also taken in by us, and became Nunuo's best friend. All global new beast channels were closed. No alien beasts dared to invade this planet again. And I became the guardian of this planet. Guardian, but no longer engaged in constant fighting. Every day, I accompanied my sister to watch sunrises and sunsets, took her hunting in the mountains and fishing by the sea, making up for all the regrets of my previous life. All the regrets. One evening, Nuo and I sat on a cliff by the sea, watching the sunset sink into the ocean. The sea breeze gently blew. Nuo leaned against my body and whispered, "Brother, do you think there will be dangers in the future?" I lowered my head and rubbed her forehead, saying with a smile, "No matter what danger, brother will always be by your side. If the sky falls, brother will hold it up for you." Nuo smiled and hugged my arm tightly. The afterglow of the sunset bathed us, warm and peaceful. In my previous life, I was a crocodile hiding in the sewers, who ultimately died with resentment. In this life, I was reborn as a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Not only did I protect my sister, but I also guarded this planet, living the life I once couldn't even imagine. My legend continues, and this time, I will never leave any regrets.